Hello people of BookTube, welcome to another book haul. This one, you may have noticed the title of it. Yes, I'm blaming my boyfriend for this because if it weren't for the fact that he was just like letting me spread my wings into one of my favourite places in the world, my favourite shop in the world, then this book haul wouldn't exist, this video wouldn't exist. So yes, this is Ben's fault. He literally was like, I've got some errands to run in Southampton, I'll drop you in the shopping centre, you can go to Waterstones and like mingle there for like an hour because I'm going to be about an hour and then I'll come pick you up. So I was like, okay, but you're not going to judge if I do buy any books though, right? And he was like, no, I won't judge you at all. So I kind of wish I recorded that conversation right now so I can play it back to him and be like, remember, you said that you wouldn't judge me because after I bought these books, straight away he was like, you what? You spent all this money on these books? I was like, it wasn't actually that much money. I was like, I've just had a good old bookshop, bit of retail therapy, and I feel happy about it. And Ben was like, it's gonna take you ages to read all those books, and I was like, probably true, but I'm hoping that I get around to reading some of these pretty soon. So without further ado, let's get started with my It's Ben's Fault Waterstones book haul. The first book that I'm going to show you is Flame in the Mist by Renée Ahdieh, which is the author of The Wrath and the Dawn. I do own, haven't read it yet, but this cover is absolutely gorgeous. So this was a pure number 1 cover impulse buy. Also number 2, I aim on reading the book in this series. And number 3, I've had nothing but fantastic things about this book, so I feel like I'm going to enjoy it as well. I'm just going to have a quick look underneath because I haven't actually looked. So there's nothing like too special, it's just like black and kind of glittery. But yeah, so it's just nice to know that I've got this, and it was a couple of pounds off in Waterstones, so I was like, yeah. The next book that I picked up is Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welsh. Now this was actually on my wish list, so it was nice to find this in the buy one get one half price deal, and I was like, yes, it's a really awesome summer read, and I've had really good things about it actually, and it's nice to know that we have got this book in the UK as a paperback now. So I didn't actually realise that we had it because I had the American book that was in my wish list. So I'm really happy that I got this and that it was part of the deal, and I'm super excited to get reading it soon. And it's kind of a summary book, so I feel like I'm going to pick it up pretty soon. This next book that I picked up is After the Fire by Will Hill, and this book just sounds really interesting. Honestly, I read like the first sentence and I was just like sold. And this book just says Father John controls everything inside the fence, and I'm just like, oh my god, that just sounds really cool and like kind of dystopian-ish, and I just love dystopians, and I just feel like this is going to be really interesting. And there's a quote from Sarah Pinborough, the author of Behind Her Eyes, on the front, and also Juno Dawson is quoting on the back as well. So I'm super excited. It sounds different, it sounds interesting. I haven't heard of this book, I haven't heard anybody talk about it, so I'm super excited. It sounds fantastic. Next of all, I picked up Ruined by Amy Tintera, and this is the book that is in her new series. I believe she wrote a book that I've got called Reboot, that's in my cupboards. Haven't really had anybody talk too much about that book, but I've heard this book is absolutely fantastic, and when I saw this I was like, oh my god, yes please. This was just full price though, it was $7.99, so I was like, yes. The fact that it was there and it's the American floppy cover, it was in front of my eyes, I was like, it's a sign I need to get it. So I did. And then I bought this bind up book, which I thought was like really awesome. I picked up Kanin, which is the Complete Chronicles, that is by Amanda Hocking, and it's in the World of the Trill series, which contains the book Switch, Torn and Ascend, which I do own, and I was aiming on getting these because these are also in the world. They're kind of like spin-off series, and so I bought the bind up. The bind up was only $9.99, and I was like, you know what, that's pretty good because that means that all 3 books are like £3 something each, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good compared to like the $7.99 that you would normally pay. Another book that was part of the buy one get one half price deal is The Death House by Sarah Pinborough, and she is the author of 30 Minutes, which I do own. They were literally just putting this book out on the table that was on the deal, so I came on the perfect date because they had new books that were going on this deal, and I was like, yes. And I read the back of the book, and it's just about this boy called Toby and this girl called Clara, and it's just sort of like how they both kind of meet, and it's kind of like their story, and it sounds like it's going to be kind of like heartbreaking and definitely really interesting. It's also floppy as well, guys. Not really sure about this cover. I feel like that's meant to be sand, like they're laying on sand, but it just kind of looks weird and photoshoppy. I don't really know what I think about that cover. It is kind of weird, but yeah, it definitely sounds interesting. The next book that I picked up is absolutely gorgeous. This book is The Names They Gave Us by Emery Lord, and she's the author of When We Collided, and I just love the cover to this. It's so pretty, it's so effing gorgeous. And on the back it just says here, Lucy has the perfect summer planned out. She's got the perfect boyfriend, perfect job and quality time with her parents, but then her mum's cancer comes back and suddenly life makes no sense. So I feel like it's going to be absolutely heart-wrenching and sort of uplifting at the same time, but I'm definitely looking forward to giving this one a read. The next book that I picked up sounded really good and interesting, and I was sold on the back of the book. It doesn't really give much away, but this is called The Girl in Between by Sarah Carroll, and this is what this book looks like. And on the back it says, I'm invisible. Ma says I'm supposed to be, so the authorities don't get me. She goes out into the streets almost every day, but I'm not allowed. I've got to stay inside the mill so they don't see me. So I'm just like, why is this? It's quite a short read, so it won't take me long to get through it, but it sounds different and I am intrigued. The next book that I picked up was The State of Grace by Rachel Lucas, and this is about Grace, who has Asperger's syndrome, and so I just thought, you know, that sounds interesting. I would like to read a book that this author has wrote on somebody that has Asperger's, because that's what my brother has, and so I would like to see like the intake of what this author has done on it, just to see how they have interpreted Asperger's as. So I'm definitely looking forward to giving this book a read. The next book that I picked up is Our Own Private Universe by Robin Talley, and this was advertised as one of the Pride books, and I want to read a lot more LGBTQIA plus books, and so this book sounds so interesting, and it's basically about somebody who is bisexual, and she hasn't had the chance to kiss a girl yet, but she sets off on a group trip to a Mexican town for the summer, and she meets a girl who is far more experienced than she is, and it turns out that she might have a boyfriend awaiting for her back home, which means that Eki has to sort out what she really wants. If she wants some kisses, a fling, or maybe something more or something real. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I look forward to giving this book a read. The next book that I picked up was Royce Rolls by Margaret Stoll. I watched A Book Utopia do a review on this, and Sasha made it sound really interesting, and so that's purely why I picked it up. The next book, which was also on a buy one get one half price deal, was Who Runs the World by Virginia Bergin. This book sounds really good. This is about a virus that has wiped out all the men on the planet, and the population of females has pulled together, moved on, and it's pretty good after 60 years of that happening, if you're a girl, that is. If you're a boy, not so great, but then there's 14-year-old River. She wouldn't know exactly that, but she meets Mason, and she thought that they were basically extinct. So it's kind of interesting how there's more like females than males, and I'm definitely looking forward to giving this one a read. It just sounds so different and so unique, and hopefully I do enjoy it. This next book was also part of the buy one get one half price deal. This is Hole in the Middle, and it's by Kendra Fort Meyer, and this book, all I did was read Morganstone was born with a hole in her middle, and I was just like, well, that's interesting and that's different. I am sold. And that's all I needed to know, really. So I'm interesting. This is another different sort of novel, and I'm hopefully going to enjoy this book too. The next book that I picked up is The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye, and I've heard really fantastic things about this. Sabaa Tahir, who's the author of An Ember in the Ashes, she has quoted on the front of it saying it's a captivating tale teeming with hidden magic and a fiery romance. And yes, so it's a fantasy, and it was part of the buy one get one half price deal actually in Waterstones, and I was like, wow, that's a sign that I also need to get this as well. I was looking at this in my wish list the other day, and when I saw this in Waterstones on the deal, I was like, is this a sign? I feel like it is. And also on the buy one get one half price deal was Juniper Lemon's Happiness Index by Julie Israel. Look at the cover of this book, it's so pretty, it's like a rainbow. I was feeling this book and Ben was kind of like looking at me strangely and being like, it's just a book, and I was just like, those are the words that have ripped my soul apart. Who are you? Get out. And so I don't really have much of a clue what this book is about, apart from the fact that when I was reading the blurb it says that there was an accident that killed Juniper's sister and it's ripped her world apart. So it's sort of like about her dealing with it. And what's interesting is when I read this, it said that she discovers a letter that was written by her sister on the day of the accident that's addressed mysteriously to you but never sent, and so she wants to desperately identify this secret love and deliver the message, and so she starts to investigate. And so it just sounds like really, really interesting and different, and yeah, I'm honestly, even reading the synopsis just now again, it just makes me really, really want to read this book pretty soon. The last book of this book haul is actually quite a short book, but this book sounds really interesting. This is called Orbiting Jupiter, and it's by Gary D. Schmidt, and this is actually a book that was nominated for the Carnegie Medal. It's quite a short book, but it definitely sounds really interesting. It says here that Jack meets his foster brother, but he already knows 3 things about him. Joseph already killed a teacher, or almost killed a teacher. He was incarcerated at a place called Stone Mountain, and he has a daughter. Her name is Jupiter, and he has never ever seen her. But what he doesn't know is how desperate that Joseph is to find his baby girl, or how urgently he, Jack, will want to help. But the past can't be shaken off even as new bonds form. Old wounds reopen, and the search for Jupiter demands more from Jack than he can imagine. And there's quotes on the back here from the Sunday Times and The Guardian saying it's a tone and directness reminiscent of John Steinbeck and beautifully tragic and heartbreaking. I feel like it's going to be really interesting. It's such a short book, so I might actually plonk it on my July TBR just because it is quite short and I need to get my reading goal up. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to giving this book a read, and I'm super excited. Oh, and on the front there's a quote from the Telegraph as well saying, be prepared to be moved. I am prepared, Telegraph. Don't tell me to prepare, I'm always prepared. I am like the Girl Scout of books. Yeah. So that's it for this book haul. So as you can see, I spent a lot of money. Actually, do you know what? Right, guys, I'm going to ask you guys to guess how much I spent on all of those books down below in the comments. And you know what? I feel like doing a giveaway. So I think the person that guesses the exact amount, or like the closest to, by the end of the month will win a prize. I feel like this should happen, guys. I feel like this should happen. If you guys can guess exactly how much I spent on today's book haul in this whole big shop, then you'll win a prize. This is going to be completely international, so you're going to win a complete surprise prize. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that, and I will see you guys in my next video. So thank you very much for watching. If you read any of these books, please do let me know down below in the comments. Let me know what you purchased in June and what you purchased in July, what you're reading in July, how you did in June. But I hope you guys are going to have an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are. Keep smiling, keep reading, and be happy. My name is Katie, and I'll see all of you wonderful, awesome people in my next video. Bye!